In today's video, we're going to be diving in to the upcoming pattern where things do look pretty warm across the board, especially when we're looking at these 6 to 10, 8 to 14 day outlooks, and 3 to 4 week outlooks. But when we dive into the models, it will become apparent that there will be times of cold air, and even some of these models are coming up with some pretty major snowstorms for the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast still during these little windows of opportunity. So the chance is still there at some snowfall. I don't want you guys to get too excited because these are smaller windows. There's a lot of room for error. So keep that in mind as we work our way through. There is a couple of bigger severe weather events in there, and I think that that's the more prominent threat at this point looking through the upcoming pattern. So let's just dive into it. And by the way, I had a great birthday. Thanks for understanding. I took 2 days off. March 1st was my birthday. Yesterday was just another great day with me and my girlfriend. We had a great time, but I am back, thankfully. So let's take a look at things. 6 to 10 day outlook here from March 8th through 12th. All right, guys, I should say, be sure to check out the vlog we uploaded a couple of days ago. It's on the top right corner of your screen. And down below, we had an amazing time. It's my favorite vlog I've ever uploaded. We're up to 800 views. The support means so much, and so many of you have been subscribing, commenting, and liking on that video. If you haven't already, it would mean so much to me if you would check that out immediately after this video. Just leave a like, a comment, and give it a chance. Watch it. It was a really hard video to make. I edited a lot of footage. It probably took me 10, 15 hours, something like that total in editing. So a lot of time went into it. Thank you guys so much. Let's check out the current video now. 6 to 10 day outlook, again, March 8th through 12th. And we do see warmth overall from the central states up into the upper Midwest and north central states, especially seeing the most warm temperatures. We also do see from the Gulf. It's near normal near the Gulf, but as we move into kind of like the deeper south, Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic, northern Mid-Atlantic and Great Lakes here, we do see plenty of warmth around. And a lot of this is coming due to this cold feature that we see here along the west, a negative PNA. This is just forcing the warmth to move around that area. So we're seeing this warmth kind of fill in during this time frame. The precipitation is going to be pretty straightforward. The west is above average, central is below, and then quite a bit of the east is above as well. So the two coasts above, the middle below for that time frame. 8 to 14 day outlook looks even more extreme as far as the warm temperatures. We get a very intense negative PNA set up for the west coast, and when we look at Alaska, we can see it's cold up here as well. So this stretches all the way up North America. That is crucial and critical. It's a very intense negative PNA, and that forces even more persistent warm air into the east and central states during this 10th through 16th time frame. Let's take a look at the precipitation outlook, and we're a little bit more abundant with the precipitation here. The south central still below a little bit here, Texas and Oklahoma, but we see the west coast seeing hugely above average precipitation, and also plenty of the eastern states involved in this as well during that 10th through 16th time frame. The 3 to 4 week outlook, if you guys missed this came out about 4 days ago on the 28th of February, and what we see is, again, a lot of what we just looked at. Negative PNA, warmer temperatures throughout the central and the eastern states. So March might end up being a very warm early spring month, and this is going to kind of unlock a lot of severe weather. I think that if we see a far above average March, you can expect much more April-like impacts as far as severe weather and temperatures as well. Very interesting. Let's take a look at how the entire winter went. I want to look back at this because we're going to start talking more about the spring, which as of March 1st, we are in meteorological spring. So the meteorological winter is concluded. And what we can see overall, looking at that 90 days leading up to February 28th, I don't know how many days that excludes. I think there's 31 days in December, 30 days in January, 28 in February. So it's going to come out to about like the 2nd of December, if not the 1st of December through the 28th of February. What we saw was plenty of cold throughout the Northwest, and the coldest was here in the Northern Plains compared to normal. And then we did see a lot of like the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, Southeast were below normal. This is probably the coldest winter we had in a decade. This is a very cold winter. I know that it's only like a 1, 2, 3, 4 degree difference in most of these blue areas, but when you're talking about 90 days, that is a lot overall to see that being the average. The warmest area was this southwest, which really is what enabled a lot of this like positive PNA effect that we saw most of the winter. And that's why we saw a lot of our cold move into the central and eastern states here. Very cool stuff. When we look at the European model, the GFS model is more wintry, but I want to say that the European model is a little bit colder. Interesting stuff. Let's take a look at this afternoon, and already we see this low taking shape in eastern Colorado. Some thunderstorms popping off for Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana. This is going to start to become a lot more abundant overnight. We do see snowfall throughout the Rocky Mountain range due to this low. Let's take a look at overnight. This is going to be about 4 a.m., so literally the middle of the night. And we do have an enhanced risk for today of severe weather, which is a level 3 out of 5, so on the higher end. And we're starting to see these really take off for Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, maybe even Iowa, and eventually Missouri and Louisiana as well. So already overnight, we're going to be seeing this. And we will look at the Storm Prediction Center outlooks later on, so rest assured we will see that. Let's take a look here as we keep going. I want to take to the high temperatures of tomorrow on Tuesday, March 4th. And we do see that this threat does continue to move on eastward. So we see East Texas, Louisiana, parts of Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, Tennessee, Kentucky probably getting involved as well for the daytime tomorrow. A lot of the snow is still around for the Rockies, but also now for some of the plains and the upper Midwest here. As we keep going towards the overnight hours, we see that this threat will be an overnight threat. So this is by the time we're looking at 4 a.m. Wednesday, March 5th. And we see that a lot of this activity is now around for the Ohio Valley, like Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, stretching into Georgia and Alabama, even a little bit of South Carolina and North Carolina getting involved probably. So we're seeing this threat continue eastward. And as we're reaching towards the afternoon, we can see that this will be a threat for the southeast up into the mid-Atlantic here, as we will have a slight risk of severe weather for most of these spots. So still a very intense severe weather event, almost like a 2.5 day severe weather event, almost a 3-day, but a really intense one. 981 over Michigan here. That's why this is so intense. We have such an intense low there. Heavy snowfall for the upper Midwest still could be a pretty massive winter storm as well. And as we move into Thursday, this will be all but said and done. We'll be kind of left without it. And what we see happen is actually a lot of cold air comes in behind this. So we get a quick little blast of colder air moving in behind everything. We do get another Colorado low pressure system that's bringing a lot of Rocky Mountain snowfall and even into like Nebraska and the plains. Let's take this towards Friday here on the 7th. And you can tell that the problem here is the low weakens quite a bit. We see it's 1,002 over Arkansas. Much weaker than it was before. So I don't think this one's going to lead to a massive severe weather threat like we saw with the one right before it. But there could be some thunderstorms and severe weather mixed in there. So keep that in mind. I want to take us towards overnight. And yeah, not too much happening. We start to get a lot more precipitation going with it in the deep south, which might bring some isolated and scattered thunderstorms, but it's cooler, so I am suspect that a lot of this, especially in the north, is going to be more showery, if anything, and likely not too much thunderstorm activity. The biggest threat for thunderstorms would likely be in this little stretch for northern Florida, southern Georgia, and southern Alabama by the time we're reaching Saturday into Sunday. As we keep going towards the high temperatures on Sunday, I should note that just one model run ago and over the course of a few model runs, the models have been trending at some sort of snowfall in this pocket here with this same moisture right here and this cold air up here. They're a little disconnected on this model run for Sunday the 9th, but we have seen the models showing that at times. So it is worth noting that this is a potential snowstorm threat. The GFS model has it way further to the north. We're going to see the low more like over New York City. And we're going to get a massive snow system in this area just a few days, I guess 6 days away, Sunday, on March 9th. Definitely something to watch for. There is plenty of cold air, and that low is obviously there. By the time we reach Monday, we see that things are beginning to warm again as the west is cooling with some snowfall and major storminess happening out there. This forces this warm to kind of ricochet back towards the central and eastern states. So, again, really quick window. Going to be really difficult to see it transpire the way that we're seeing the GFS model do it, but it is possible. Tuesday, that cold expands in the west, so we see something like this as far as the jet stream, and the warmth expands across a lot of your central and now especially your eastern states Tuesday the 11th. Cooler temperatures around for all of the west, like we mentioned. Snowfall for the Cascades, a lot of the Rockies, really, really cold, really, really snowy. Wednesday, here on the 12th, we kind of begin to get our next potential severe weather event. This could change a lot, but we did see our one that's coming up here in just a couple of days, overnight tonight into tomorrow and into Wednesday. We did see that one, a good 7 to 10 days out. So these are a little bit easier to predict in the long range. The finer details and the finer locations, obviously a little tougher, but if a severe weather event is coming or not is a little bit easier to figure out than a snowstorm, for instance. We do see a threat here for the Midwest, Ohio Valley, down into like the Tennessee Valley and deep south here. We do see some thunderstorms popping off, and that could bring about some thunderstorm activity and severe weather. We do see snowfall for the Northwest as a storm system's moving onshore there. Let's take a look at what happens as we move towards overnight Wednesday into Thursday, and we see that this cold front with this stretches. It stretches way down to the deep south. So all of a sudden we get this band of thunderstorms and potential severe weather much, much more expansive, especially vertically. So really something to watch, and that would arrive sometime in the morning for the East Coast before moving offshore. Very brief area of cold air before we warm back up. And this European model says, hey, by Saturday morning, March 15th, another very strong low will be located over Kansas, and this would be a massive severe weather threat for Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Illinois, maybe even moving into Tennessee, Kentucky, and Mississippi. So all of this is really stuff to watch. This is exactly why I've been calling this upcoming pattern potentially dangerous and even potentially deadly, as there is a really elevated chance of tornadoes during some of these events. So dangerous, dangerous stuff. For the daytime on Saturday, we see that what happens is this cold front, it's kind of like weird. The warm front is here. The cold front, or at least the moisture along it, kind of outpaces the low and starts to move out ahead, as you can see. This could lessen the severe weather risk. Usually you want to see a cleaner, more classic cold front, warm front scenario, but I would say there's probably some thunderstorm activity in here. Definitely something to watch. Saturday the 15th is really far out. There's a lot of details that are probably going to change at this point, maybe even entirely. We do get some snowfall going for the Ohio Valley once that cold front fully rolls through, and that does partially move into the mid-Atlantic, and then basically we get a lot quieter after that point until the end of the model run on Tuesday the 18th. GFS model, we're going to really glance at it. I mean, we're going to see the same thing for this upcoming storm, obviously, that the European model showed. The one following it, though, let's look at what this threat does. Look at this. Here's Sunday the 9th. Look at this. We get a strong low over West Virginia. A lot more cold air being pulled in. And all of a sudden, the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic are getting moderate to heavy snowfall as soon as Saturday into Sunday, 5 to 6 days from now. As we keep going with this, we see it intensifies rapidly once it's reaching the coast. 977 over the Delmarva. Heavy snowfall for a lot of the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast here. And as we keep going, this is Sunday at 2 p.m. We see it's just around Long Island or New York City in there. And we get heavy, heavy snowfall for, again, the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast here. Potentially, this would even be a blizzard. That strong of a low would bring very strong winds to this area and also very intense snowfall. As you can see, that combination is exactly what would cause a blizzard. Obviously, this is one model run. This is very late in the season. And we have huge disagreement between the European model and the GFS model. So please, please, please take this with a grain of salt. This is by no means something that I'm calling for. It's just I'm showing you what the model is showing. And in all likelihood, this will not look exactly this way. There's a possibility that we see something similar to this, but there's a very good possibility that we see something very different from this as well. So don't get too excited. We see this move out, and that would be 1 to 2 feet of snow easily. The cold is around after that point. We see a quieter pattern kind of transpire between that kind of 9th, 10th, and the 12th, 13th. The west starts to get going with more heavy snowfall between the 11th and 12th here as low pressure systems are moving through. And we get a pretty strong one over Iowa here for Wednesday the 12th. And this brings about the threat of thunderstorms and severe weather underneath, as we've been seeing with a lot of these storms. That moves towards the east as we move for the days following. We get another very strong low across the Midwest here, 992 or 93 there, somewhere between Missouri and Illinois. Again, this would present a thunderstorm and severe weather risk out ahead of it and to the south of it, and also a snowstorm threat for the Midwest and Great Lakes. Really something we're going to be watching. See even move towards the east as we're reaching like the 16th, 17th. Very cold air is following this. It is the GFS model, so take it with a grain of salt. But look at this huge positive PNA by the 19th of March and a huge, really cold air mass as a result in the east, where we are seeing Arctic air very far to the deep south. I mean, we are seeing snowfall in the outer banks of North Carolina and southeastern Virginia, but this is 384 hours out. Take it with a grain of salt. When we're looking beyond, like, especially beyond like 12, 13 days out, if you were to look at every single model run, it almost changes entirely every single model run. When you're about, 10, 12 days out, we do see some details get retained oftentimes. Between 7 and 10 days, we usually see things stick around that the model is showing, but it shifts around a lot from run to run. And then when you're within 7 days, we're typically just working out the finer details, just to give you a rundown. Let's take a look at the total precipitation. Obviously, the West sees quite a bit of an uptick as they just see continuous precipitation for days and days at a time. The East does also pretty well, seeing an increase of precipitation here. When we look at the anomalies, we do see above average for a lot of the West, especially California, actually. And then a lot of the upper Midwest here does good. And then the East is pretty neutral, maybe a little bit below normal, if anything, but we do see some above normal pockets in there. So it's pretty close to normal in general. The total snowfall in the European model is gargantuan out west, just absolutely unbelievable amounts. Northern Plains and upper Midwest do pretty good, as well as the Ohio Valley into parts of the Mid-Atlantic. But when we look at this pocket here, there's clearly like a lack of snow, especially in the lower elevations and coastal areas. GFS model says, hey, totally different idea. Hey, here's a different idea. The West does great. The Northern Plains and upper Midwest of the Great Lakes does even better than the European model showed. And the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast people, it said, I want them to stop complaining about no snow. Let's give them this. But again, I'm trying to be funny with it, but this is something that I do suspect will change quite a bit. It is, of course, possible, and that's why we always show it. But just given how the winter has gone with the models and everything, I suspect that this is going to be a long shot to see happen with a blizzard like this right off of Long Island, bringing 1 to 2, maybe even 3 feet of snowfall. Anything in the world is possible, but I suspect that if we did see snowfall for this area, it would be a lot less, and we might not even see snowfall for the area with this storm at all. So it's something to just kind of monitor as we move forward. Let's take a look at the temperature pattern real quickly. We are a bit cooler right now, but we are going to see a warm up out ahead of our severe weather event. So starting on like the 4th into the 5th here, we see a lot of warm air for the east. This cold front blasts through though and does bring colder temperatures for the 6th and 7th, even a bit of the 8th here, and then the 9th, the 10th, and then we get the warm air coming back, especially the 10th, 11th, 12th here. Another cold front comes through, then we warm back up, and another cold front comes through. It's this constant back and forth that we've been talking about is still what to expect. My AC is having issues, so I know I told you guys that I've been hoping for warmth. I have shifted my gears a little bit. The warmth can wait about a week or two. if you ask me, I'd prefer it to be a little bit cooler so I can sleep at night and not be sweating. So yeah, let's hope for that. Well, I'm hoping for that. You guys don't have to. Let's take a look at the Storm Prediction Center. Day 1. So this is for today, overnight, until about 8 a.m. tomorrow on Tuesday. So again, a lot of this is going to be overnight. We do see a general thunderstorm risk in the lighter greens where we expect general thunderstorms. Level 1 marginal risk in the darker green where we expect isolated severe weather reports to come in. Level 2 slight risk in the yellow where we expect more scattered about severe weather reports to come in. And then that orange between Texas and Oklahoma is that enhanced risk, level 3, where we already have that starting tonight for parts of Texas and Oklahoma. A little bit more widespread severe weather happening there. Day 2, this becomes a lot more expansive. Same thing. Again, we have the level 1, level 2, level 3. And for Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and a bit of the Florida Panhandle there, we have that level 3 enhanced with the possibility of an upgrade to moderate. I don't know if it'll happen at this point, but that is very expansive with an elevated risk of tornadoes. Slight risk is also rather large. It's going to be a big day tonight into tomorrow. And even day 3, right now we don't have an enhanced risk anywhere, but we do have that level 2 slight risk all the way from like the heart of the Mid-Atlantic here, Maryland, a little bit of Pennsylvania, the Delmarva, southward through a lot of Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and even into Georgia. So this is, again, going to be a pretty expansive severe weather risk for a lot of these areas, and even parts of Canada seeing a marginal risk. We obviously don't issue outlooks for Canada, but it is touching, so I would assume that if they did show outlooks, there would be a little bit of marginal there in Canada. Pretty impressive for early March to see the thunderstorm and severe weather risk stretching that far to the north. Really interesting stuff. With all that being said, from now on, we will be uploading daily again, so be on the lookout for tomorrow's video. We're going to break it down even more. Be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day, almost. You can be sure to hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.